morning, hello, and welcome everybody. It's Thursday, the 14th of July, and Nick and I are back here in the studio, live from the UK, talking to the world all about side hustles and going it alone. Now, Nick, both of you, me, probably lots of people watching this, have set up a business, have started from nothing, started from scratch, a blank canvas, and probably started maybe while they were working for somebody else. Getting together the ideas, mapping out what the future looks like, working out how they're going to raise the funds, working out what their business is really going to achieve. And that's not easy sometimes. Today, we're going to explore that. So, Nick, let's talk a little bit about your business. How did you start up? How did you get going? And maybe we'll get people commenting and tell us what they did and how they launched their business as well.
Yeah, I think there's lots to talk about. Lovely audience on all of the channels, on YouTube, on LinkedIn, on Twitter, on Facebook. Chances are, if you're watching this, you've got something to do with business, and there's a very good chance you've got your own business. And I wouldn't be surprised if most of those businesses, certainly those ideas, were sparked while you were potentially working for someone else. Right. My training company, most definitely, that idea was sparked. I was working with someone else at the time. And it was even set it up while I was still working for someone else. It's quite useful because when I was made redundant, I had a business ready to go. You know, I didn't have to start going through the rigmarole of setting up a business, which was more difficult back then than it is now. It's very, very straightforward. But the ideas, kind of the passion was already building. And chances are, right, and that's not one business, that's multiple businesses. You entrepreneurs, you have an idea, and then you think about that idea for a while. You talk to a few mates down the pub. You know, some ideas survive the morning, some don't, and you're going to hit on something that's quite exciting. You know, and as soon as that passion overtakes everything else, chances are then that idea becomes a side hustle.
And that's what it is sometimes, isn't it? It's just an idea. As you say, you could be in the pub one evening talking to a bunch of friends. You know, you've gone there for a drink and you get on to saving the world or whatever the discussion is. And then all of a sudden this idea sparks. Maybe you hear something on a table across the way. Maybe you saw something happen during the day and you say, you never guess what I saw today. And all of a sudden this idea just starts to grow and gain momentum. And before you know it, you've had 4 pints or whatever it might be, or 4 glasses of shandy or a glass of wine or whatever it is, and you've got this fantastic idea. And that's where it starts. But then the fun really does take place. You know, you've got this idea, you've discussed it, but there's so much more to do. And I think starting up a business, starting a side hustle, as it might be known, just coming up with something small, maybe it's solving a problem, a challenge, because that's what businesses do. All businesses provide a solution to a problem or a challenge. And you then kind of work on that. And these little sparks turn into amazing things. And we've both seen lots of great businesses. We've worked with lots of great businesses, small, medium-sized enterprises, large corporates, but they all started from somewhere. And that is what we want to know. So if you're watching this today, tell us, wherever you are in the world, tell us your idea and how it come to fruition. Or is it just still an idea? Maybe you're still thinking it through and, you're not quite sure of the next steps. Or maybe you can tell us your story and maybe some of the more experienced who have gone through the ideas startup and they've now turned it into a fully fledged business. Maybe you've got employees and global dominance is taking over. Maybe you'll better share some of your tips with us as well. So tell us in the chat. It's there for you to use, whether you watch us on YouTube, LinkedIn, Twitter, or Facebook. Let us know how you started and some of your top tips.
Yep, the chat's already functioning, mate. Already functioning. And what I find is, I posted this earlier in the week on LinkedIn. I find people in business lovely. Right? People are always happy to share. They're happy to help. You ask a question, chances are in a business environment, so let's say LinkedIn, you're going to get a sensible response. Other platforms, maybe less so, but certainly on LinkedIn, you've got a business issue, an idea, you want to ask a question, chances are people are going to come back to you. And a quick shout out to the Communication Professionals group. I posted a post onto that group early this week to say, hi, we're here, come and see us. If you are part of the communications professionals group, say hi. Say hi. It'd be great to hear your advice and what's going on in your world. So, yeah, get stuck in. Let us know. And so how many times, mate, have you had an idea, right? I think that's a blooming good idea. And then because life gets in the way, or various other reasons, nothing happens with that idea, and then somewhere down the line, that idea pops up. Tell us about your tea bag idea, mate. Tell us this. Tell us, have we got any sad music to play in the background?
Do you know what? Let me just have a click down. I'm sure we can find some. What we got here? I don't know which one. Yeah, let's try this. Here we go. That would do. So the tea bag story. Yeah, it's an absolutely true story. I was only young. Probably about 11, 12 years old. So we're going back into, to kind of the 80s. It was the 80s for me. And there's this time, and I just saw my parents making a cup of tea using those traditional round tea bags. And I realised that wasn't the best way of making tea. So I sat down and I sketched out a pyramid tea bag, a triangle tea bag. I thought, what an idea. 3 sides, it's going to allow the tea to brew rather than the 2 sides of a standard tea bag. Of course, I was 11 years old, didn't take it forward, didn't do anything. And now, cue the music off, tips, come out with a triangle tea bag or the pyramid tea bag. I got beaten to it. And that happens sometimes. And of course, that's only my story. People are going, yeah, David, of course, you're making it all up. Of course, you can believe what you like, but it's absolutely true. And I did think about the same also. It led on to other things about having a tea bag that you put into a washing machine with your detergent in. And of course, that's happened in the respect of, your detergent now comes in like a little plastic pack, and then you throw that in, same with dishwasher tablets and stuff like that as well. So, ideas are great, but they're no good unless you do something with them. And there you go. I didn't do anything with it. I missed my billionaire opportunity. Maybe there'll be another one around the corner at some point soon.
You were a very young side hustle entrepreneur, weren't you? Your first, do we call it a business? What were you, 7 years old?
It was certainly an entrepreneurial business learning, and 7 years old. Yeah, got a paddling. I had 2 paddling pools in the back garden. We lived on a long street, lots of houses down each side, lots of friends where I went to school and stuff like that. Invited. It was a bit like the day that we're going to have on Monday coming. For those that are not aware, it's going to be probably the hottest day on record across the UK, and it was like that. But it was in August. It was boiling hot. And I filled up 2 paddling pools, cold water, had one of those slippery slides. And that was, by the way, you can buy those now. But my dad was in the building trade and he had a big roll of polythene, huge roll. We just rolled it out down the garden, and then it was fairy liquid and water and a hose at the top. You couldn't buy them, but now you can buy them as a commercial product. And I then invited all my friends in. I had about 30 friends that all come in and use the facilities. Had great fun. But I charged them all 20 pence each to come in and use the facilities. So I was in a money-making mode, which was brilliant until I got collared by my mother, who told me to get everybody out of the house or out of the garden. What am I doing? And of course, my next lesson in life was all about, how you look after your customers, and I had to refund them all their 20p's. So I actually made nothing out of it, but it was a very good lesson learned. Sometimes I always say, ask for forgiveness, not for permission in most cases. But in that case, I probably should have asked for permission first, and I'd have probably got away with it.
That's an entrepreneurial start, mate. Oh, to be a 2 paddling pool family. And
a slippery slide with a rope over the apple tree as well.
Who knew? To be a mate of David Bell back in the day, it'd cost you 20p. Luminate.
There you go. So if any of my friends are watching this who remember me back from 1985, somewhere around there, 1984, 95, do give me a thumbs up. If you remember, did you get your 20p back? I'm sure you did. Then I might have kept 1 or 2, I'm sure. But that's what it's about, side hustles. It's about seeing an opportunity, finding a solution to a challenge or a problem, and then taking that idea. And the most important thing, the reason I was telling that story is because you've got to take action. You have the best idea in the world, but if you don't do something with it, if you do not move it forwards, then nothing will ever happen. And
that's the challenging bit. That's the difficult bit, right? Taking a brilliant idea and progressing with it, having the gumption, having the courage to take action and move it forward. It's great to sit down, come up with a load of ideas. Chances are we've all done it, but only a few of us have taken that idea and grown it into let's say a successful business. Because the idea just won't fly, or someone does it bigger, better. It takes quite a lot of grit to get through that kind of very exciting early stage.
Absolutely. Very quickly, good morning to Nora Lawface. Good morning, Laura. And from Mascots, yes, Lucy, which is Laura's daughter, is our Chatbox mascot. And we sent out a T-shirt and a water bottle. Have you got your water bottle there, Nick? Mine's just over at arm's length.
I've got my mug.
You got your mug, but we sent out a nice water bottle full of sweets to Lucy as our mascot of the show. So thank you, as always, for tuning in and joining us. Let's kind of take business to one stage forward. So you've got an idea, and it's easy sometimes to have an idea. The hard bit is taking it to the next stage. Idea into planning process. Taking all this information that's buzzing around up here, formatting it, laying it out, and then being able to actually take that action. Because as I said, until you can kind of map out and see what really you've got, do your research, test the water, look at do your competitor analysis, see what else is out there, who's doing it, how much does it cost, where you're going to buy if you need products, or what different businesses. But you've got to get all that information together. And it might not be viable at that point. You realise, actually, this is never going to work, or fantastic, this is brilliant. Then you start doing the do. So you actually start selling something, i.e. a product or a service or whatever it's going to be. And I'm obviously simplifying the process down dramatically here because of time. Then you onboard customers and things start to happen. The magic happens. And then you do have a trading business. Because you don't really have a business, I don't think, until it generates an income. It's not really a business until it's generating a income stream. I'm not saying you've got to make money, but you've got to generate an income stream. You've got to be selling something. When you're selling something, whether it's you or a product, then you've got a business. Up until that point, is it a business, or is it just an idea that you're playing with?
Do you remember your first invoice, mate? Your first business payment, other than 20 pence?
I remember some of I can't remember the very first one. But I do remember when my first part of the business was when I was just still at school, just leaving school. And it was a business I'd set up then. And I remember repairing my first computer, going to, picking it up on my bike, because I wasn't driving at the time, and picking it up and bringing it back and repairing it, upgrading it, and then returning it. So, yeah. And then there was lots of that followed. And then I got my driving license really early on. And that was a kind of a game changer then. It meant I could get out there and do stuff and get to the people rather than making them drop it off as it was at my parents' home at that point.
Mm-hmm.
Apple
started in a garage, mate. You might as well start at home. You're very similar, you guys.
Yeah, garage, back bedroom, bit of both actually. Admin was done from the bedroom. The actual physical work was done from the garage. That's pretty like lots of businesses now, isn't it? Lots of business.
Well, you've got to make it work. My first ever client, the British Library, bless them. If you're watching from the British Library, thanks very much. That was my first ever client. I framed that invoice when I got a copy, sent it out, framed it. Yeah, long time ago. Wow, the business has evolved since then. But yeah, it's exciting stuff. And chances are, the certain politicians in the Tory party are going through a similar process. Here's my ideas. Will they fly? Will I get backing? Time will tell. Who's your favourite, mate? Who's your because this time last week, Boris was still in post, wasn't it?
Absolutely. Look what we did. The momentum the chat show created is that hours after we run the breakfast show, Boris was out. It was as simple as that. We created a wave of change, and it happened.
Well, I don't know about we, but yeah, okay.
Well, we helped. We just, greased the wheels a little bit and gave it a bit of a push. I mean, look, left in the running. We've now got we've got it here. This is the Sun, but we've got the 6 factor. These are the 6 that are remaining. We've got Rishi Sunak, Liz Truss, Savella Braverman, Penny Mordaunt, Kemi Bagnosh, I think that's pronounced, and Tom Tagenhat. They are the ones in the running. Who would I put my money on? I quite like Rishi, but is there a time for change altogether? and it looks like Penny is out the front. She's actually running second with 67 votes compared to Rich's 88. But of course, another one goes today, and once that next one goes, then votes are going to kind of move across to somebody else. So it's going to be interesting to see how this unravels. Who do I think is going to do best at this particular time for business? Okay, for businesses, startups, small businesses, I'd put my money on Rishi at this point in time. But who knows what's going to happen? We don't get a choice in this anyway. It's just, there's no decision made by us. We get what we're given at this particular stage. I suppose the next stage is when it goes to a general election in the not too distant future, could happen sooner than we think. Then we get to decide who we want to see at the realm.
Yep, they're busy selling their business ideas to to the party, and what a great time, right? To have an idea, get a side hustle up and running. I understand the IMF, they're downgrading the predictions for global growth. Okay, it's really, really tough out there. So it makes sense to have some sort of other income stream on the side that may become a business, it may not. So even if your side hustle never becomes more than just an earning opportunity, like paddling pool rental back in the day, it will help the process, right? And I think it helps you up here as well. It helps you think differently. So even if you never leave your current employer, running a side hustle will help you think differently about how you service customers, how you talk about business, all sorts of powerful stuff.
Yeah. And I believe this day and age, it's the easiest time. There's still a lot of red tape, more red tape than there ever has been, but it's the easiest time to start a business. Running a business going back 20 years ago, starting a business was kind of it wasn't cool. It wasn't trendy, but now it is, to start a business now. I mean, hence we've seen such an increase in businesses throughout the UK, from 2008. That was the time of obviously one of the last big recessions, really. There was about 2.8 million SMEs, small to medium-sized enterprises. We're up to like 5.9 million now, because it is very, people are like quite, what's the word I'm looking for? Quite adaptable, and people are quite happy to run and be working for themselves. They don't have to have that comfort of that paid for job. People are willing to take a risk. And I think it's a lot easier to get into business. Still lots of challenges, but it's a lot easier to get into business and sell your product. And of course, social media and the internet's made that even simpler as well. Hence why we're seeing a massive increase in businesses. This morning, we're going to be talking to some of those who have recently started their journey and got their businesses up and running, and learn a little bit about how they started and what's next for them as well. So we're going to be straight back after this, where we're going to bring our first guest onto the show and find out more about what they're up to. There we are. Right, let's bring our first guest onto the show this morning. Been waiting patiently, sitting back in the green room. Please welcome to the show, not a first appearance because we have worked with this individual in the past, but please welcome our guest this morning, our first guest in the studio, Conor Stewart from Beet, this food source. Good morning, Conor, and welcome.
Morning, guys.
How are you doing this morning?
I'm good. Yourself?
Yeah, very well. Let's jiggle the screen around. Let's put you centre stage. It's about you, not us. So Conor, Beet this sauce. Now, we know what Beet this sauce is. I've had the pleasure, and we'll talk a little bit more about that in a minute, of trying some of your very famous, there you go, lovely sauces. But for our listeners, our viewers, tell us a little bit about Beet this sauce and how it all begun and what it's all about.
So the concept was born, I would say, about 2007. When I watched an episode of Dragon's Den and Levi Root's Reggae sauce appeared. That kind of struck a passion with me. Although it never took a little time to make it happen, many years to get round to even starting the idea, I wanted to create a brand as well as a product, just as popular as each other. It's important to have a strong brand behind a product. If your branding isn't right, your product simply won't sell. So that's where the idea came from. 2018, is when I actually started thinking about what to do next. How do I take this from a prototype and a concept to a sellable product? And firstly, I had to create a recipe. There was no recipe. I didn't want it to be an imitation of somebody else's product. So yeah, I had to go with a completely fresh idea. So at the time, plant-based was coming very current, and it still is to this day. I think it will be for the next 5 to 10 years. And my range of ingredients, I looked at beetroot being one of the best ingredients that we can farm in this climate, in this country. So the idea was born then. The branding Beet This is actually, so the logo being the fist and Beet This looking like a tattoo is my love for boxing and tattoo artwork. So that's how the idea was created.
Yeah, you are supporting a tattoo or two there. We can see. We won't go into that. That's a different show for a different conversation. But
it's about time you had a tattoo, David. Come on. There's a Chatbox.
Well, maybe there's a dare there that can happen or something like that. And if I lose, then you can get to choose the tattoo and place and location or something.
Oh no, don't let anyone else choose it, mate. But, yeah. It's about time. About time you grew into a tattoo, my friend.
I'll have a Chatbox one. How about that? So Conor, talk about, you've got 3 sources in the range, haven't you?
Yeah.
That you've come up with. Tell us about the 3 sources and who's buying these currently at the moment? Because I know this is an idea that started in 2018, and you've got some fantastic customer satisfaction and reviews and feedback, but you're now looking to take it to the next level as well.
So yeah, at this moment in time, there is quite a substantial list of clients who are interested in this product. 362 over Scotland already. That's individual retailers. Due to particular reasons, I can't actually say who these guys are until it is available to market. However, we have a variety of butchers, we have delis, farm shops, garden centres, fast food retail outlets, burger vans, delis, cafes, etc., etc. We have a full range, including a catering side of things, which is huge. A lot of my customer base actually want this printed on their menu, so that's quite a big commitment. Especially when you start up. But for 4 years, we have been trying testing these products. And in 4 years, we have had 4 people out of roughly about 7,000 people say the product wasn't for them. So, yeah, that's an achievement on its own.
Telling me that's an achievement. If I, out of all the people I've ever spoken in front of, if I'd only had 4 that said, actually, no, Nick, your stuff's not for me, I'd be delighted. And because it's it's a sauce for putting on your food, right? People's tastes differ, and especially with regards to beetroot, right? Because it's one of those kind of things, love it or hate it.
It is 100%.
But in a sauce, though, the sauce blooming amazing.
Well, Nick, on the subject of beetroot there. There's one particular spice in the original product which is designed to mask the earthy, muddy taste that you get from beetroot, because that's particularly what people don't like about it. So you get the beetroot quality there with customers that love it, but you also get the full beneficial quality of the beetroot there from customers that hate it. It's particularly designed to reach both markets.
And just very quickly,
hearts and minds battle, surely, for because you think, right, well, it's beetroot. I'm not a big fan of beetroot, but this sauce is blooming. It knocks your socks off. How good it is, right?
Yeah, I was going to say there's three sauces. There's kind of an entry level. Got a, they're all. Firstly, I've got to say they're all very, very tasty. But from a heat level, because when you sometimes talk like a hot sauce, people go, "Oh, is this going to blow my brains out?" Well, you've got kind of the entry level sauce, which has a little kick to it, but it's not. Anyone could eat it. Even if you're not a hot spicy fan, it's like a condiment that goes with pretty much anything. And then it scales up, and then you've got your hot sauce, which I can vouch does have that kick. That if you're looking for a bit of a punch and something that's going to really spice up your evening with your burger or your piece of meat or whatever it is that you're having, that's the one to go for. So you chose 3 different levels of kind of heat to try and obviously address, different markets?
Yeah, so originally, when the first recipe was created in my home kitchen in Lossiemouth, my particular taste is I like hot food. So what wasn't hot to me was actually hot to a lot of other people. It's really easy to create a product where the sweet matches the heat and not have to do much adjustment or tailoring to the recipe. However, once people liked the taste of the original, but wanted the heat stripped out, it was very difficult because part of that taste came from some of the chilies that were in that sauce. So there is a special method of making and a procedure that I use in my manufacturing, which still gives the customers the full benefits and taste of certain chilies. However, it gives you the kind of same level of heat as you would get from a standard pepper, for example. The hot sauce itself is designed to be more on par with sriracha. It's not supposed to be too hot. It's supposed to be still be enjoyable and very Moorish. And the spicy mayonnaise is a combination of mayonnaise and that hot sauce. The challenge sauce that you tasted before, David, that's on par with like pepper spray. So we won't really touch much on that subject.
The thing was, even though it was hot, it didn't taste like a piri type sauce that you just thought, no, it's really hot, but blimey, what am I going to do with it?
Yeah.
I thoroughly enjoyed them, and that's not a sales ploy for anybody here watching it. I would say make your own decision, taste them, try them, but they're really good. So I suppose let's get back to the business side of things. You set this up kind of in 2018. It's growing, it's developing. As all business owners do, there's a number of challenges as well as successes that come along the way. Successes you've just mentioned, 7,000 plus people have reviewed this, given it a 5-star. 4 people have gone, well, it's not for me. It doesn't mean, but you can't please everybody. And at them numbers, as Nick said, blimey, if I had 4 people that, disliked out of 7,000 customers, I'd be super happy. But what are some of the challenges that you've faced on this journey, or do you see facing going forwards as well?
Okay, so we'll go back to the start. Not many challenges, to be perfectly honest, because if you've got a product like mine, you've got a recipe and you know how to make it, all you need to do is make samples of this and put the product out to market. So test the water a little bit. People are easy to find. The right people are easier to find when you attend trade shows, food events, food stalls, farmers markets. That's your kind of your target there. So the first couple of years weren't actually too challenging. It's when you look at taking the product to market where the challenges begin. So the challenges begin simply when you have to make a product legally safe to eat, so not for immediate consumption. So my product had to go through various lab testing, shelf life testing, micro shelf life testing, and vegan, vegetarian certification, gluten-free approval and certification. So this all costs money. And this is when it becomes difficult because even if you're working a full-time job, that has to be a very well-paid full-time job to be able to finance a side hustle. And it can become equally important to know when to stop when things aren't worth it. So in a way, you have to kind of keep doing that research and testing the water to keep that reassurance there in your head that it is definitely worth it, because it's a massive risk using every single penny of your disposable money on a side hustle that you don't know is going to work. You need some sort of guarantee. So that's where I use the awards, like the Great Taste Award, the Scottish Retail Food and Drink Awards, to kind of have some sort of physical backing and some proof there that not only do you get a certificate if you win an award, which we did from both of those, however, you have the recognition from the certificate, and the recognition for the certificate is worth money on its own. So I would advise any business in my line of work, in food manufacturing or drinks or beverages, that these awards, they're not just trying to get money out of you by charging you 100 to 150 quid to enter these awards. It's probably the best 100 to 150 quid that you will spend in that first 5 years of business to get that recognition. And some of these companies have nationwide recognition. Some of these companies have global recognition. And yeah, it's a good way of taking that product forward that tiny little bit.
Must be really difficult to it's a long time in the kind of making, the testing, the perfecting, and then getting to that point where, you know what, now it's time to scale. Scaling any business, it takes it to a very, very different space. As you said, now, the testing needs to be kind of off the scale. It needs to be, recognized by trade bodies, award bodies. It's these are tough steps. And I imagine this is the difference between someone who runs a business out of their kitchen, and that's all it ever becomes, and the likes of Levi Roots, who, you walk into a supermarket and you see the sauce on the shelves. So that must be, I guess different challenges, Conor, right?
Yeah.
Over and above people saying that sauce is blooming lovely.
Yeah. So the challenges actually, like I said, start after the reviews. We get great reviews all the time. And to start with, it was my daily motivation with the business to continue forward, but not in a cocky way. But now we expect the good reviews from the customers. We are used to getting these 5-star reviews and 2-paragraph long stories about it, family photos uploaded with pictures of the sauce, whatever it is. But that's the easy part. The difficult part is when you have to kind of search for opportunity, and success actually happens when opportunity meets hard work. So a lot of these companies that still manufacture in their kitchen, just small batches, very small batches, because the legal side of things now is they will stop you in your tracks if you get a certain quantity. But the reason that a lot of these businesses don't go from kitchen to kind of manufacturing premises is simply because the amount of legwork that has to be done in between. I started doing this kind of manufacturing research and further prototype development and packaging, etc., 2 years ago. And I work every night solid on that for 2 to 3 hours. If you tally that man hours up over that period of time, it's a lot of time. It's mentally draining, but you do get that moments in your day and in your darkest nights where you just get that kind of that voice saying to you, keep going, because if you stop now, you will never know. And I'm not in fear that anybody would be able to copy the recipe. That's not what it is. I'm in fear that I would never be able to see it on a shelf where it belongs. You've got to just keep persisting through these hard times and be tenacious and refuse to give up, even if it slightly costs your mental sanity. As long as you don't lose track of yourself, you have to keep pushing and keep breaking down these barriers, because you will be told no on a daily basis in this business. You will have your dreams stood on and crushed on, and you will have empty promises week in, week out. But you do kind of build up some sort of immunity to that, where you can just keep charging ahead. And if that one thing that was behind you comes back and catches up with you and pays off, that's fine. But don't expect it to be in front of you at arm's reach all the time. Just keep looking for opportunity and keep attacking different angles. Have 100 paths on this journey, and just keep the hope up, because the minute you lose hope, that creates room for doubt, and doubt creates room for failure. So that's the kind of attitude you have to have a business.
And that's the attitude we need on the breakfast show on 8:30 on a Thursday morning. Don't ever give up. We're getting close to having to thank you, Conor, and coming on and joining us this morning. Time is always against us. We would love the show to kind of go on for days, because we could have so many great conversations. A couple of things I'm going to ask you kind of to wrap up this morning's interview. If you had a magic wand and you could wave it, what would you utilize it for? What would help you take your business forward to the next level? So that's question one. And question two, everything you've learned, and you've given us some really great top tips in what you've just been talking about. But if you could tell your younger self or someone else starting up their side hustle or business, what top tip would you give them? So what one thing would you love to boost your business, and what top tip could you share with others?
Okay, so if I had a magic wand, what I would do is I would look for an investor, somebody that can give me a bit of capital investment at the same time whilst bringing some business experience to the table, simply because that's how big the gap is between where I am now and where I want to be. Levi Roots, for example, Richard Farley and Peter Jones, he was in the exact same position as me at this moment in time, and they waved their magic wand and hooked him up with all their connections. And
it was his magic wand moment, wasn't it?
Yeah, give him that opportunity to show how hard he wanted to work. Now, I'll work harder than anybody will in this business. I do every day, as well as my full-time job as a mechanic. So that would be the answer to my first question. The answer to your second question would be, my advice to anybody, say from age 16 to 25, that period of your life is probably the most important for you to aspire to your challenges and your goals. So as much as it is normal to fit in and go out with your friends at the weekend and have a drink every weekend, that will only slow down your dreams. So believe me when I tell you this, stay sober for that period of time, because when you're successful, that will be plenty of time to celebrate.
Yeah, there we go. That's a really good tip. Very different to anything we've had before, but very true. Very true indeed. There's plenty of time in the future to celebrate the successes. But then, I suppose one of the things I always take away is you've got to live for today as well. So I think it's all about getting balance, isn't it? A bit like your sauces, getting the right balance. The hot and the sweet and the taste and everything like that. Conor, if people are interested in buying your sauce, finding out more about it, where can we steer them? Where can they go? How do they get in touch?
Yeah, so for the moment, while the website is under construction, you can visit the Facebook page, Beet This Sauce, B-E-E-T. If you search that on Facebook, have a look at customer reviews and ping us a message, yeah.
Brilliant. What we'll do, we'll pop that into the chat in a moment so people can click on it and visit the Facebook page and get in touch and learn more as well, and place an order for some yummy sauces as well. Conor, been great having you on the show this morning. I know we'll be catching up again very, very soon. Wish you all the best with the this is a serious business now. Wish you all the best with the business, which started as a side hustle, and keep them sauces going.
Cheers, guys.
Cheers, Conor. All the best. Thanks. Bye-bye.
Cheers. Brilliant, mate. Brilliant. And that's sound gritty advice, right? You and I, and especially you, work with a lot of students, a lot of business students, very much in that 16 to 25-year-old bracket that Conor's been talking about. And most students that we come across have got a side hustle of one, certainly business students of one form or another, right? They're serious about it. That is very, very sound advice. Kids, 16 to 25-year-olds, stay sober, celebrate later, right? Don't let the fun destroy the dreams and the ambition and the tenacity, as Conor would say, to get the stuff that you need to get it done. That's sound stuff. And it makes a lot of sense. An investor with some business advice to take to overcome some of those massive hurdles that getting food on the shelves of, let's say, the supermarkets takes. Great to hear from Conor, and look forward to catching up with him at some point soon to see how that journey progresses.
Yeah, no, absolutely. So I've got a little quote here before we bring on our next guest. We were talking prior to bringing Conor on and talking about, his side hustle that turned into a business. We were talking about obviously the race for PM, and we put the final 6 candidates out there, and you asked me, which one would be, potentially the winner who would take over PM as of the 6th of September, because Boris Johnson has announced. So I was watching Promises Question Times yesterday. Very interesting. Great watch, great fun. I was listening to it on the radio, actually. I was driving, and it is, honestly, it's like a load of schoolboys and girls having just amazing fun. You think these are the people running our country, by the way. But so Boris Johnson yesterday announced that he's going to formally resign, handing his notice to the Queen on the 6th of September. So we knew that was kind of the day. Now, I've counted back and I've worked it out. This means we've got to now endure Boris Johnson for another 45 days. we've got 45 days of him left at the realm before we have our next Prime Minister in post. Can you live with Boris for another 45 days? There's the question. I don't say I don't like the guy or anything like that, but come on, his time's up. Just get out, just go. Let someone else just pick up the pieces and fix all the problems that you created. There we go.
As Conor said, mate, you need to know when an idea is not going anywhere, right? So in business, you would have quit that idea not by now, wouldn't you? So that's not going to work, or that's not working anymore. You need to pivot. How many times have you had to pivot, change, evolve a business? It's at the moment for a communication trainer, it's constant, right? Because the world is changing at such a pace. So what I offer clients has evolved. It's evolving again. It evolved at the start of the pandemic. It's evolving again now. Part of that is knowing when that stuff doesn't work anymore and stopping it.
And we spoke last week on the Great Reset, the Big Reset show, about, some of the things that as business owners, small to medium-sized business owners, the threat that's upon us, but it is affecting everybody globally. You were talking about, inflation 9.1%, but that's just not here. That's happening on a global basis now. Countries are being their credit reassessed and stuff like that. There's lots of change at very high level, but of course back down to grassroots, just paying your energy bill is going to be a challenge for, and I'm not going to say some, most people are going to be challenged to just cover their cost of electricity and gas. And that's without everything else that's happening out there in the world as well, where all costs are spiraling out of control and strikes are happening. It's a bleak outlook, but we've got to be realistic. It's going to happen. We're not going to stop it. What can we do to ride that storm? How do we get through it, come out the other side thinking a little bit battered and bruised, but hey, I'm still here and let's go for it. And that's, I think, is the super key.
A lot of people would kind of hunker down, keep the head down and try and ride out the storm. Most entrepreneurs will be looking for the opportunities. I do like your new question, mate, the magic wand question. I'm a big fan of that. Excellent. Yeah,
there we go. We're going to throw that one in every week so our next guest can be prepared.
No pressure.
Magic wand, what would you do with it? And we're going to get you on very shortly, bring our next guest on. But before we do, quick shout out, because after this, Nick and I are jumping into the cars. We're heading across the county and we're off to an expo today. We pitched this a few times and mentioned we're going to be there. So you want to come along and meet Nick and myself and have a chat and have a chance to win some great prizes today. Here we are. We are at in Colchester in Essex. So for some of you, I appreciate that might be a flight or a long drive, but if you are in the facility, come along and visit us on stand 69. And this is at the Charter Hall in Colchester. We're going to be there. Well, we're going to be there when we get there, but doors open at 10:30 and close around 3:30 this afternoon. And we're going to have lots of conversations and meet lots of great business owners over, I think there's about 85 other exhibitors there today, all showcasing their businesses, what they do and stuff like that. We're going to have some great conversations and learn about how they got their businesses off the ground as well.
So excited to be on the road. Yes.
The fun. Anyway, should we bring our next guest on, Nick? Because the clock is ticking, and as always, it's always against us. So please welcome. We had the pleasure of working with and supporting our next guest on their side hustle startup journey. We're going to hear more about this, about how they took it from an idea to fruition and now making magic happen. Please welcome onto the show our final guest of this morning, Simon Preston from Embrace Neurodiversity. Good morning, Simon, and welcome.
Good morning. Thanks for having me.
No, pleasure. Simon, let's just kind of get to the point of where neurodiversity is and how you got Embrace. But we met you, Nick and I. You entered a pitching competition. We've mentioned it a few times on the show because both Nick and I support the university in question, which is Anglia Ruskin University, which is in the east of England. It covers Chelmsford, Peterborough, Cambridge, and also London as well. A very renowned entrepreneurial university. And you entered a pitching competition called the Big Pitch. And if we go through, you went through the various rounds, you got to the boot camp where Nick and I met you. We had the time and opportunity to work with you amongst some of the other finalists as well. And you got then to the finals of the big pitch back in May, wasn't it? May time.
Yeah.
And you picked up a prize or some prizes because your idea was one that not only the judges believed in, but also the audience as well. Pick up from there. So you've won this prize. Yeah, you know, what was it like to win? Did you ever think you were going to get there? And where have you kind of got to in the last, month and a half?
Well, it was certainly quite a journey, to be honest. I mean, didn't expect to get as far as I did. When I actually entered, it was very much sort of I've got an idea. Let's see how far it goes. And I'd got that first round with creating that 60-second pitch video, which now, with what I now know, following all the boot camp training stuff, look back and it's a little bit cringy now, but it got me to the semi-finals. And then the boot camp itself was absolutely fantastic, and meeting lots of other people there, everybody else that was all had business ideas. And I was quite nervous beforehand anyway, because I've struggled with social communication anyway. And so being amongst so many other people, I didn't know what to expect. And, you don't know what other people are going to be like, how we'd interact. But actually, everybody was really forward facing and really enthusiastic, not just about their ideas, but also really interested in what you want to do. And everyone was there supporting each other. And then doing that last the 3-minute pitch in that semi-final, and after sort of practicing, trying to sort of work against, because I also struggle with my working memory, so having to try and sort of remember that 3 minutes was challenging. So, and because something's challenging, and when you've done that, you get that sense of achievement afterwards. So to get to the final, to the grand final, was really quite something for me. That was because I was just happy to get to boot camp, and just go as far as I can go with no expectation or anything, and just do my best. And getting to the grand final, I saw the grand final more as it was an absolute privilege to be there. So there was nothing to lose in the grand final, other than it was an opportunity to actually just enjoy the experience, because no matter how it went, how the grand final was to pan out, there was nothing to lose and everything to gain. So just enjoy the experience. And then I nearly fell off my chair when I found out that I was one of the winners. So
it's phenomenal, Simon, and that enjoy the experience. All right, that's a powerful message to all business owners out there. Don't forget, right, hard work. Don't forget to enjoy the experience. So some of our audience won't be as familiar as we are with neurodiversity. So what is, first of all, from my point of view, what is neurodiversity? And what does embrace neurodiversity do?
So neurodiversity is very much about all the way that everybody thinks in different ways. So it doesn't have to be just neurodivergent people. It's also neurotypicals are within that area too. So it's how our brains all function, and what that can actually mean is that people can see and experience the world in a different way than other people, and it doesn't necessarily have to be a bad thing at all. And it can actually bring with it a lot of innovation. It can bring with it a lot of strategic advantage. And as a neurodivergent person myself, it also comes with a lot of challenges. And when you have environments at the moment that are very much built upon neurotypical systems, it is very difficult sometimes for neurodivergent people to be part of that, be fully included within the system. And so where the world is seemingly at the moment is wanting to, there's the good intention to really want to embrace neurodiversity and start viewing different ways of thinking as being a positive rather than a negative, as a difference as opposed to being a deficit. And so what I'm looking to do with Embrace Neurodiversity is go a little bit beyond just awareness and actually help with the practical solutions to actually implementing the knowledge and understanding that people have gained about neurodiversity. So what I do is support businesses to improve their overall team functionalities, and they do that by analyzing their team's strengths and weaknesses, and then looking and cross-referencing those with the talents and the challenges that neurodivergent people have. So then by embedding the talents within the team strengths and improving team weaknesses can then lead towards that improved business performance. But then also looking at how team strengths could help with the neurodivergent challenges can become a cost-effective way of providing reasonable adjustment. But then there's also the most important bit, which is psychological safety. So by having a look at team weaknesses and how that could actually impact on the challenges, could actually then give leaders, managers, businesses a chance to look at potential trigger points that can actually cause stress and trigger off anxieties. So stress risk assessments can be a bit more tailored towards the individual rather than having something generic. So that was a very quick whistle tour.
Very good whistle tour. Absolutely right. Because we hear a lot about diversity in the workplace. What a great idea. People that think differently and coming from different perspectives, but probably not enough about neurodiversity. To say, yeah, it's not just about diversity as a whole. It's also, let's dig a bit deeper and come at it from a neurodiversity point as well. Makes sense, David, right?
Absolutely, 100%. And even though it was a very short whistle-stop tour, it perfectly summarised and hopefully for most made it quite clear about what it is that you're trying to achieve and the goals that you've set. What have been coming in some of your challenges getting this up and running? Because obviously you've come from you're a student, just finished your degree, I believe, haven't you? You just
finishing, still got another month yet.
Okay, finishing, nearly wrapping it up. So what is the next steps from that hold? Are you going to go on and take it to a PhD or something like that? I know you're putting that question out there and seeing what do people think I should be doing. Taking the business forwards as well. You've got a family as well, which is always for some when starting a business. If you're young, free and single, footloose, as I say, it's only you've got to worry about. Feeding yourself, putting a shirt on your own back, and putting a roof over your own head. You can make and get by, but obviously the dynamics do change when you've got a family around you as well. So how's that kind of all shaping out? What do you think that kind of future looks like? I mean, the business is your passion, but upskilling yourself, as we all know as business owners, is so important. So how do you see that unraveling in the coming weeks, months, and maybe later this year?
I mean, at the moment with because I was just still finishing for my degree at the moment, and I've also with my degree has actually spun towards specialising in neurodiversity in the workplace, and I do want to be taking that on to the next level. And as you noticed, I did put that out because I'm still thinking what the best pathway is, what's the best way, and at the moment is a resounding choice. Votes gone towards the PhD. What I'd like to really do is to study a PhD in how I've got to narrow it down, obviously, but it'll be in about leadership and neurodiversity, because at the moment there's a lot of things out there about how to manage neurodiversity, but there's not so much out there about the actual leadership. There is some stuff that I've read, and but there's still a bit of more work to do in that area. So that's where I'll probably end up going to is how leadership impacts on neurodiversity in the workplace. I mean, I've got my family as well, and I'm the only earner in the family, and that puts a lot of pressure on me as well to be making sure that when I am transitioning at the moment, because I'm in a full-time job and I'm doing this now on top of a full-time job, as well as studying the degree. But one of the things that I'm quite good at doing is structuring myself. I have to anyway, because I depend on routine and structure. So I actually, I may, as a teacher, a timetable for teaching in the day. So I've actually structured a timetable outside of the working day too, because I've also got to factor in my own mental health and well-being as well, because I am prone to burning out, and because I tend to get into something and then I don't stop, and before you know it can be 3 a.m. So I have to put a lot of the sort of little strategies in just to manage myself. So in terms of where we're taking this at the moment, one of the great prizes this is what was really good about the big pitch, was that I may not have got what I asked for, but I actually got what I needed. And the Federation of Small Businesses membership is real high value in terms of what I can get out of that. And I've been going to quite a few network meetings and working on my communication skills, because I know that I struggle with that, and my confidence levels were quite low before the big pitch, but now it's I wouldn't say sky high, but it's getting there. And I'm learning more about what to say in 30 seconds and listening to other people and how they do it and stuff. And it's been really enlightening. But it also has changed my original plans from the big pitch, because now that I've spoken to lots of people and learning more about what people are actually wanting, I'm realizing that I need a different approach. And something that I've found to be that I'm good at is thinking about strategy. And my strategy is changing. So at the moment, it's building relationships, it's building networks of people, finding the right people to be around, and sort of really building that firm foundation of which to build your house. So it is a bit of like the house on sand approach, and house on concrete. So that's what I'm doing at the moment. So building lots of relationships, and then I am going to be hopefully starting very soon a program called Neurodivergence at the Heart of Knowledge Exchange. That might sound familiar with Anglia Ruskin, but I've been speaking to my friends over at Anglia Ruskin about that, and it just seemed a logical
fit. Yeah, absolutely. It's amazing. So much has happened in such a short space of time. And as you say, you have looked at already of things changing. And I think that would be, one of the tips I would be sharing to everybody who starts their journey from a startup, from an idea into a side hustle, potentially into a startup business. Don't be afraid of that change. It's good, because as you start to go on your journey, as you're finding, Simon, things change. Conor was talking about, you start to see, oh, okay, well, I thought this was going to work, but actually the feedback I'm receiving is this. So all of the time is that your business is taking slightly different tracks and different routes and manipulating and pivoting for the better. And that's exactly what's kind of happening. And no doubt there'll be lots more of that for you, which does make it exciting as well, because you don't know quite what tomorrow is going to hold. Best plans, you lay it all out, but things do change. Normally they change for the better. Couple of questions to wrap us up. You kind of know where this is going. The magic wands, my new question for the show. If you had a magic wand, you could wave it now. What would you do with it? And finally, from everything you've experienced, maybe not just in the last several months, but everything you've experienced about getting your idea to fruition into a business, what would you share with your younger self or others that embark on a startup journey?
You might need to remind me the second question later on. So
Me too, Simon. Yeah.
The magic wand. What would I do with the magic wand? I would say start having the actual in-business conversations now as well, because a lot of the conversations right now are all around neurodiversity and still in that awareness. But I think it's a sense of actually getting in there now and actually working with a business to apply the framework that I've got, and then that's probably what I would.
That makes a lot of sense.
What I'd look to do, because that's the bit as well that gives me pleasure, really, is knowing that I can have an impact on people. And it's not just, and also making sure that it's not an us versus them kind of mentality. It's not about neurodivergence versus neurotypicals. Neurodiversity is about the whole team. So actually helping a team to improve its own functionality, whether they're neurotypical or neurodivergent, everybody feels included, and they're able to perform as their authentic selves. That would be where I'd like to be.
Good use of a magic wand to get those business conversations going. And David's second question, if you could go back in time.
And the second question is one top tip. Everything you've learned to date about getting your business idea, if you could tell your younger self or someone else that's about to start that journey, what tip would you give them? What one thing would it be?
I think one of the biggest things that I've learned in the last 6 months in particular is never let anyone tell you you're not good enough, including yourself.
Oh, yeah. I love that bit you added on the end, including yourself, because we can always have self-doubt, can't we? We can always sit there one night and go, yeah, but, and we put those but words in, and that can distract us and stop us in our own tracks. So, yeah, that's a great one. We're putting all these together, Simon, if you're not aware, and these will all be in our book that we will publish. So you're going to be a published author in its own right, with your quote in that book, when Nick and I get round to finalising it and putting pen to paper, hopefully launching later this year, if not early 23. Simon, it's been great having you on the show this morning, learning and obviously sharing your journey to date. We'll keep an eye on how things unravel for you. No doubt we'll be seeing you very, very soon anyway, maybe on campus at Anglia Ruskin, or watching you being a star, because I know you're doing a lot of social media. People want to get in touch. I assume the best place for them to go is to your website, embraceneurodiversity.co.uk.
Yes, definitely. And they can be contacted through there as well.
So you want to find out more about Simon, his journey and Embrace Neurodiversity, have a look at the website, embraceneurodiversity.co.uk. Simon, Preston from Embrace Neurodiversity, thank you very much for joining us this morning, and we wish you all the best.
Thank you. Take care. Thank you.
Thanks, Simon. Another brilliant conversation, mate. Just fantastic. What a journey. Both our guests are on different stages. The journeys look different, but amazing and great advice. Never let anyone tell you you're not good enough, including yourself. That's about. And well done to you, mate, for not using the word evoluting today when you were talking about pivoting and changing and everything else. I was waiting for evoluting.
I missed the opportunity. Don't worry.
Didn't want to butt in just in case it was coming. Mm-hmm.
Well, there we go, Nick. It's a couple of minutes past the hour. We've got to transition. We've got to evolute, get ourselves in the car and dash off down to, sunny Colchester for the next part of today, where we will be at the Spring Back into Business Expo. If you're in the Colchester area, want to come along and meet Nick and I and lots of other great business owners, have a tea, a coffee and a walk around, do come along and join us. I'll pop the flyer back up on the screen. There we go. We're on stand 69. Come along. We're open. The doors are open from 10:30 to 3:30 this afternoon. Hopefully we'll have some good conversation.
Hopefully we'll be there in time.
We've got to pack and rush.
Go.
So we will see you next week on the Business Breakfast Show. Next week, we're all talking about two great guests coming on. We're talking about preparing your business for exit. So we're talking about startups and going it alone and launching your business. Next week, we're going to talk about how you get out of it if you want to do so. But a lot of that starts at the beginning. Think of the end in mind. Don't wait until you get to that point. We'll talk more about that next week on the Business Breakfast Show. From me, David Bell, and from my co-host and great friend, Mr. Nick Looby. We'll see you next week. Bye-bye for now.